Yeah, I went there, my friends got married. And went out there and we did the, wings and a beer, but I was like,
but not a lot, just because they probably. If he doesn't call in by the time we get to the, because the thing that he wanted to make sure that you guys voted on, the resolution. So if we get to the number 5, the executive session, before he calls in, then just go to the meeting minutes and the bills and claims. And then we'll just deal with it. If he doesn't call in at all, then we'll finish up.
You got it. All right, it's 7 o'clock. Good evening. I'd like to call the Milltown Ford Avenue redevelopment Tuesday, April 16, 2024 meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mr. Farkas?
Here.
Mr. Livingston?
Here.
Mr. Mangarella?
Here.
Mr. Mashi?
Here.
Mr. Olashinsky?
Here.
Councilman Revelinsky? So he is, okay.
Thank you. Can I get everybody to stand for a salute to the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. All right. That brings us to the meeting notice, Kath, or Mr. Cahill, whoever wants to read it.
Notice, let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of holding of this regular meeting of the Ford Avenue Redevelopment Agency was provided by the adoption of a resolution and the posting, filing, and forwarding of a copy of the same to the official borough newspaper, Home News Tribune, publishing companies on February 6, 2024. Public participation in this meeting will be permitted during public hearings and after the agenda of scheduled matters has been completed.
Thank you. So we're going to skip down.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
and
I'd
then give
suggest we
Mr.
go to skip 5 and 6 for the time being to allow Councilman Revelinsky to call in, and let's go to item 7.
All right. So item 7 is the meeting minutes from we have 2 meetings. We have the March 19th meeting, and we have the special meeting that was held on April 10th. Can I get a motion to accept as typed?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. All right, next we go to bills and claims. Kath? Mr. Cahill?
I'll do that, Mr. Chairman. At the, after payment of the bills at the last regularly scheduled meeting, we had a balance in the escrow account of $14,821.03. There were bills that were that are on the bill list as indicated at $39,536.75. The developer made a replenishment in the amount of $40,000. So after payment of the new bills, the amount that will remain in escrow will be $15,284.28.
Thank you. All right, we got to accept the bills and claims, right?
You got a motion to accept?
Can we get a motion to accept the bills and claims as typed and read?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that brings us to number 9, the chairman's report. Just, we held off on it, you're a little bit later, but we held off on the executive session because we're waiting for Councilman Rydstrom to call in. So we're just going a little out of order. But that's a session where we got to kick you out anyway, so. All right. So I don't really have anything else for the chairman's report. We'll go to correspondence.
No.
Nothing?
No correspondence, Chairman.
Do any of the members have any old business? Do we have any old business?
The trial, pre-trial continues to move along at a pretty good pace. There's been a number of motions filed on behalf of the redevelopment agency, pre-trial types of motions looking to limit various types of testimony from the experts of the property owner. Those will be submitted and they be submitted tomorrow, I believe. And the judge is indicating he will decide those matters, I want to say on May 10th, but it may be a different date in May, but it will be certainly before the trial begins. And that's, so while the trial is getting a little hectic, the pre-trial is a little hectic right now, it's really not changing anything until the judge rules on these motions.
These are the expert witnesses for Berger?
Yes,
Okay.
but both sides have expert witnesses as to the value of the property, the highest and best use of the property, which is a planner, the demolition on the subject property, and that includes some environmental stuff, but only with regard to the demolition, not with regard to the cleanup of the site.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions about the old business? All right, do we have any new business?
So I would suggest, in the absence of any new business, that we move on to item number 5 as a follow-through for the special meeting we had on April 10, the resolution that authorized us to go into closed session, indicated we would disclose to the public what took place during the closed session at the next regularly scheduled meeting. It's now the next regularly scheduled meeting, and it was short, so it'd probably be good to do that as an interlude, if you will, into going into closed session now. So if you'd like, I'd be happy to do that, Mr. Chairman. So at the special meeting on April 10th, the agency opened the meeting in regular session, and then shortly thereafter closed the meeting to go into executive session to discuss personnel items. The specific personnel items was the hiring of a new executive director. Finalists were chosen from among a group of people, and we'll talk more about that after we go into closed session. Interviews were conducted of the finalists that had been chosen to be finalists, and thereafter a short discussion took place among the agency members. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I could read the resolution to go into closed session to wrap that up.
Yes, please.
Okay. Whereas the Middletown Ford Avenue Redevelopment Agency has a need to discuss matters involving the selection of an executive director, and whereas the Open Public Meetings Act provides that a public body may exclude the public from those portions of the meeting and discuss certain matters in closed session, including any matter involving the employment, appointment, terms and conditions of employment, including matters falling within the attorney-client privilege. Now therefore be it resolved by the Middletown Ford Avenue Redevelopment Agency that the agency enter into closed session to discuss the above matters. Be it further resolved that the discussion held in closed session will be disclosed to the public upon return to open session.
Thank you.
Okay. I suspect it will not be very long, but you never know. So for the benefit of the public, I don't
I
think
need a
it'll be.
motion.
Oh, yes.
Need a motion to go in executive session?
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you guys got to, I don't think it'll be long if you want to hang around a couple minutes. Back. So basically, we're gonna get ready to vote on our candidate, and we, pass a resolution to offer him the position. He cannot get the position until he's approved by the DCA, but he cannot go through the process until we pass this resolution. So that's basically where we're at. Do we have any discussion from the board before we vote on the resolution?
I'd just like to thank the screening committee. They did a heck of an effort by going through a number of resumes, taking the time. I believe it started in December to pre-screen and bring the agency a number of viable candidates and then make them available. I think that the screening committee did an excellent job in getting the agency where we need to be. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, good job, boys. So now we have, I'm gonna look for a motion to pass the resolution that's in front of us. It's the resolution of the Milltown Ford Avenue Redevelopment Agency to approve and authorize appointment of Kevin McGowan to the position of Executive Director. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Kath, let's just do roll call.
Okay. Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Mr. Farkas?
Aye.
Mr. Livingston?
Aye.
Mr. Mangarella?
Aye.
Mr. Mashi?
Aye.
And Mr. Olashinsky?
Aye.
Motion carries, resolution carries. Yes.
So now he'll be offered the position, and then if he passes the DCA, which is a requirement by law, he'll be appointed to take over for Rich.
Do you want me to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the process involves exactly what the agency did. There's certain advertising requirements it must do by law. And the screening committee did their due diligence on all of the applications, as did the remaining members, reviewed all 15 applications that were submitted. The screening committee narrowed it down to 4 candidates and made certain recommendations in one of our closed sessions to the remaining members of the agency. Interviews were then conducted. Those interviews continued into a second round for some of the people. And the non-screening committee members also had the opportunity to interview, and then at a special meeting on April 10, the entire body, with the exception of Mr. Mashi, unfortunately, who had a prior commitment but had met all of the candidates that were in the final hunt, if you will. And they all had the opportunity to speak to the candidates, and once selected, the candidate cannot take the position by law until it's submitted to the Department of Community Affairs, who reviews the candidate and the application and certifies the eligibility. And there's certain criteria that are set forth in both statute and New Jersey regulations as to what the requirements are for employment as an executive director of a redevelopment agency. So within the next week, we'll submit our package down to DCA. The regulation says that normally will be done within a 2-week period, so hopefully at or around the 1st of May, we should have a new executive director.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're going to move on to number 13, audience comments. Anybody have any comments or questions? Come on down.
Lee Weisenberger, 99 JFK Drive. I have a question on the gray area that's come up now in recent weeks, months. With the governor now, he was trying to present now more affordable housing, more units, squishing them into the towns. And I'm curious if this would affect Ford Avenue at all. It came up at the planning board meeting. Mr. Barry had some comments on it, not much because it's new. And I know Washington's pushing now too for affordable housing and units in the towns too. And it's kind of, it sounded very similar to the overlay zone stuff, but more units. And so I'm just curious if you know anything about it, or...
Be happy to.
I'm gonna say that is, since we don't really have any jurisdiction over the land yet, and we won't, that would probably be more of a planning board and zoning board issue for the town and the council. I don't think we all have a say in that.
The agency doesn't have a say in it, that's correct.
Yeah.
But as a practical matter, it'll have no impact on the Ford Avenue project. Because the Ford Avenue project is a second round obligation of the borough. It's been litigated on at least 2 occasions as to the number of units and approval of the development plan by the Superior Court of New Jersey. The only thing we're waiting for in that litigation is what's called a compliance hearing. We can't hold the compliance hearing until we acquire the property, because while the court's already ruled that the redevelopment plan is the best plan for the site, in order to pass the compliance hearing, you have to have, you have to demonstrate a reasonable probability that you're going to be able to complete the project, and until you have the title to the property, that's a loophole that you can't jump over. And the court's well aware of it and is patient.
Okay, that was, you know, trying to get some information on it, like I said, because our contact, I guess, with our attorneys that represent us in Milltown, the feedback, where that goes to council, who, you know, we don't hear too much there, and that's, I was just curious, you know, where it was. So, appreciate it.
No problem. You guys got anything?
Hello, 92 Ford Avenue. On the best thing that could happen, you know, everything goes through, there's no more bumps, and when would the property start to be developed?
All right. I'll do this in my head, and but please don't lock
I'm not going to
me.
hold you to it.
Yeah, lock me into it. So the trial is now scheduled to take place and complete in the end of the first week of June. So let's just assume that happens and the jury issues a verdict. And the court then enters into a judgment and says the property is worth X amount of dollars. If the X amount of dollars is acceptable to the developer and the county, because the county is a partner in that to the extent of the open space, then they can deposit the monies into court and take title to the property within a matter of a week or two. Either party can file an appeal, but the appeal doesn't necessarily delay anything if the developer and the county decide to advance and to take the risk that there might be a higher award resulting after an appeal. So what will happen at that point in time, there would be a new redevelopment agreement that would be entered into among at least the redevelopment agency and the developer that would now reflect what's going on. New timeframes would be struck, etc. The property would first be cleared and remediated, so that could happen. I think you would see the property start to get cleaned up. Let me just put it that way. Cleaned up from getting rid of the rubbish and the junk that's around there, and vacated certainly by the fall. And then I think you'll see the removal of the structures and the foundations that still remain on the site, and the commencement of a the environmental remediation of the site. That'll probably take place, there's a good shot it'll start before the end of the year, but it's got to go through the DEP for them to evaluate the actual plan to be done, or at least through the expert. DEP operates a little bit different today than they did a few years ago. You can now hire what's called an LSRP, and that person then assumes the responsibility for the plan and the cleanup and certifies its compliance with DEP, and that moves things a little bit faster. And then I think you'll see the actual start of construction. It is not likely to be in the spring, but I think you're probably looking at a year from taking title, because all that other stuff is going to take a little bit of time.
Right.
And then there's some paperwork kind of where the surveys will have to be done to really delineate where the county's property begins and ends, what's going to be park land, what's going to be the developer's property, et cetera. So all of that'll, take a month, 2 months, and so the time frames that I'm talking about are the absolute best.
Right.
And then these things could delay it ever so slightly. So a range of, you'll see activity on the site probably as early as September. You'll see real construction anywhere within 12 to 18 months after that.
Thank you. One other question, is the Middlesex County Park part of it still kind of where it was, like the back end of it, and then the front, like from
Yes.
Clay Street to Main Street would be the building?
Yes. I should know that. Yeah, it's right around, it's almost like cutting the property in half. There's,
Okay.
so Clay Street, it may not be, I think Clay Street goes into the site, and there might be a little bit of parking that goes to the right of Clay Street. All of that is a little bit subject to change, because until you actually engineer it, what was part of the agreement among the four parties, the borough, the redevelopment agency, the county, and the developer, it was all on a concept plan, and that everybody would exercise a good faith effort to get as close to that as possible. But when you get engineers out there and they say, well, we need to move this over here and that, nothing substantial, but just that it makes more sense. It fits better.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, that's all good news. It all comes true there, Mr. Cahill. That's it. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.